Hi, world. Dr. Shirley here. I'm so excited. Another segment of Surviving Singleness the Stress Free Way. Today, I have a longtime friend of mine from Baltimore. Some call him Donnell, some call him Pastor Eley, Pastor Donnell. I'll let him introduce himself. Go ahead, Donnell.
Good evening, Dr. Shirley. My name is Donnell. I'm a leader here in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a chaplain. I'm a spiritual leader. I'm a community leader. I'm also a musician. I played the organ. I lead worship for different ministries and churches and things of that nature. I'm 44, two kids. Both of them are teenagers, 15 and 13. I'm also a divorcee and I'm also single. So yes, that's me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And like I've told people before, I'm not here to tell people any particular way on how to be single. What my aim is to help educate people and let them know they're not alone and that, we can do singleness differently as singles as well as working towards marriage and so forth. And we don't have to do it the world's way. The world always tells singles that you need to be holding around, doing this and that. My aim is to teach people you can do it differently because in the end, we have to stop the hurt. We have to stop the toxins. We have to stop, trying to hold on to people, cause people hurt, and acting like we didn't do anything, because hurt people. And we have to stop that. But most of all, we have to learn to also be better ourselves
Right.
and prepare ourselves for the mate that God has for us. And so I thank you for being here to share with me. And like I said, this is unscripted. It's raw. It's real. You know how I do.
Yes, I do. Yes.
And so I'm going to let you go on and tell the people, what is it like being single? You're also in ministry. You've been single, you've been married, you've been divorced, same like me, and so forth. What would you tell the people? What is it? What is your thoughts on singleness and how we should carry ourselves?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate this connection and this dialogue. Um, Singleness, when I think of it now, and I think now that I'm older, I look at it as a sense of freedom.
Mm,
I think it's a good thing. A lot of times people look at you as if something is wrong with you if you're at a certain age and you don't have a wife or you don't have a husband or you're not in a relationship or you're not going out with someone. I know for me, I'm in my singleness, I am comfortable going to the movies by myself
mhm,
and getting some popcorn. I remember a friend of mine, she says, "Oh my goodness," as if it was something wrong. Or I'm like, listen, it's stress free. I love it.
mhm,
I'm able to sit there and enjoy it. While there's nothing wrong with going on a date or something like that, but I enjoy sometimes having my alone time with me. It has not always been that way. Sometimes I felt like I had to do certain things or I had to have certain um, interactions with women and able to have a relationship. And a lot of times it ends up disastrous, especially when you don't go into it the right way.
mhm,
But singleness for me, and especially during this pandemic, I've seen so many people get in relationships because they felt like they had to have someone, or they had to hurry up and get uh, pregnant or get married. And I know several people who are in some terrible toxic situations because of the way they went about it or what they felt like they had to have or they had to have a bae during the time of their quarantine when it probably could have been the best time of your life. Now, don't get me wrong, I used to be married. I've I understand what all that goes with that. And sometimes when you're at home, you would love to have that person
mhm,
next to you. If we can be honest, there's a side of us that longs for that. But
mhm,
I think when you prioritize that and you begin to really look at the purpose of your life, again, now that I'm older, I begin to look at all those type of things. Not is she fine or how good does she look, but how are we able to connect? Do we complement each other? Are we going to be in this? Are we going to complement each other's purpose? Those type of things. In the Christian world, a lot of times we talk about being unequally yoked, and a lot of times people deal with that as just, is the person saved or not? But even beyond that, two people can have a relationship with God and still be unequally yoked. That's a whole nother conversation.
It sure is.
And so, when you look at all that, just having, understanding that connection and understanding, first of all, the freedom that you have as an individual, number one. Number two, being whole yourself. A lot of times people look at, I need to have another person in my life to be complete. But if you're not complete yourself, and if that person isn't complete, you're going to always be looking for someone else to complete you. And as human beings, we all have limitations. We all have different things that cause us to come up short. And one way or another, that person is going to fail you along the way. Doesn't mean that they don't love you, but somewhere along the line, they're going to fail you. So if you're looking for that person to be your peace, if you're looking for that other person to be your joy, let me tell you, you're going to really be disappointed along the way if you're looking for that. So you got to have that within yourself first before you look for that in someone else.
And I definitely agree with that because of the fact that, having been single for as long as I have and so forth, I have been in and out of different relationships and so forth. And even to, just talking to people, it's like, okay, sometimes you think, okay, well, I'll go along with this and maybe they'll change. And I have learned you cannot change people. You just can't. And the older I'm becoming, the less I want to change anyone. And I just want to change me. And I look at, okay, am I going to be happy 5 years down the road? Am I going to be happy 10 years down the road? And the truth is the more I am enjoying my peace and the older I am becoming, the more peace I am finding. I don't mind going to the movies by myself and getting my own popcorn away. I don't mind taking myself out to eat to a nice restaurant or whatever the case may be. Some people are like, oh my gosh, that is so sad. Oh, you're such a waste. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I would rather be single than be miserable or just completely stressed out and trying to think, okay, is this person cheating on me? Or oh my gosh, what is happening here? Can we have an honest conversation? I just, when in my youth, it was just like, okay, I can deal with it. But now it's like, no, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
You
don't feel like wasting. Yeah. You don't feel like wasting any more time. When you're younger, okay, you might be able to put up with certain things. But when you get older and you start living life, it's like, okay, there's certain things that I'm not going to tolerate. There's certain things I'm not going to stand for. And then, even for me as a man, and I know it can go either way for men or women, but as a man, I remember my grandmother telling me a long time ago, a woman can do bad all by herself. And, and I understood where she was coming from with that. Because sometimes, men and sometimes women as well, we look for, that other person and we want to play around, do whatever. But then if you don't have your stuff together, why start a relationship with someone if you can't be faithful? Why start a relationship with someone if you can't be responsible? Why start a relationship and if you can't be honest? Simple things. If you can be upfront and honest, say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and this is where if you can have those conversations at the very beginning, you can stop a whole lot of heartache and headache. If we know what we're looking for and we can see the consistency as we're courting or dating or what have you. So yeah, that's important for me.
And I will tell you the other thing that I have found just in watching people, because I like watching people. I like learning about people because I just love learning. And I have found that sometimes people just are not honest. They say they're honest, but they're not true with their feelings and the things that they really want. And I think women are even better at it, at lying about what they're feeling. Like, oh yeah, I'm just friends with so-and-so, but really they're holding on and thinking, okay, yeah, maybe this person will change their mind. I have come to learn that, sometimes that is just not the case, and so for me, it's like, okay, keep wasting time.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
And sometimes not always a matter of cheating, because I don't think I mentioned it, but right before the pandemic, I was in a serious relationship with someone I
Hmm.
thought I would end up marrying. I thought that I would be proposing to her in 2020, but when 2020 hit, it threw a whole lot of things up in the
Hmm.
air. But she called it off. But there were some things I, I think she was holding back, and it wasn't a
Hmm.
matter of cheating or anything like that. But and the way that the relationship ended was through a text. Oh my God, that devastated me. I was like, first of all, I'm reading it like, what am I reading this? But and so I had
I'll
so
admit,
many
I've been guilty of that. I ended one relationship with a text. I will not
right.
deny. I have been
I'm
guilty of that.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, and so many things went through my mind, and I'm like, okay, but we're cordial. We haven't seen each other since then, but we're cordial. We've moved on, but this is a person whom I've met her children. She met my children. Our children met each other,
And that's
and
serious.
that's serious. When I get to that place, I'm really serious. And people that know me, especially those who are in my family, those who are very close to me, know that I don't make anything public. I'm very discreet. I'm not
Hmm.
sneaky. I'm a discreet guy. So what I mean by that is, um,
Like,
let,
please explain, Donnell.
what I mean by that. So normally when I would date, I would not post on my social media who
Hmm.
I'm dating. First of all, I don't feel like that's necessary. But in this day and age, sometimes some women, they like, hey, you didn't post me or whatever. So I posted a picture or two, and people that knew, they were really looking like, wow, like,
Hmm.
okay, Donald doesn't post anybody, and I've dated before, and it's like, okay, and so sometimes some women, especially younger women, sometimes they feel as though if you don't post me, there must be something that you're hiding. That's a
Hmm.
whole nother thing. So in this world that we're living in with social media, it's almost like it's not it's not authentic, or it's not real unless it's posted, or it hasn't really happened unless everybody can see it.
Hmm.
And to each his own. I don't really feel like that it has to be plastered all on there. And I think that's also a discussion between you and your significant other, how you kind of do all those type of things. But yeah, that I'm one of those kind of guys where I'm very private, and I think because of the life that I lead, in ministry and in the community, part of it is also trying to shield the person, or to protect the person I'm with, because sometimes, like the one I was in a relationship with, she wasn't like, and I think that may have been part of the reason why the relationship ended. I think part of what was on me was heavy for her, and so
Hmm.
sometimes when you're in the limelight, they're like, this might be a little bit too much. And it doesn't mean that you
Hmm.
have to be any way. I was like, hey, be who you are. You don't have to be the first lady sitting on the front of the road with a hat on. It's not necessary, but again, sometimes because I think what was going on in my life was intimidating for her, and she felt like she couldn't, you know, deal with that. And so, yeah,
And that is something you have to take into consideration, because I look
yeah,
at my life. Okay. Well, first, let me clarify when I made the comment about, yeah, I ended a relationship in a text. There's a long story behind that also. I had the conversation, and the person was not being respectful of some things. And I was like, oh,
gotcha.
okay, you want to be funny? Let's go ahead and be funny. And so I was like, let me help you understand where I'm coming from. And
Wow.
so I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I clarify that. I'm not that vicious and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I know I can be, you know, but in reference
Hey.
to, the limelight, I do
Mm,
agree with you. Sometimes you have to think about the person coming into your life. Like, you're in ministry, and it is expected that sometimes that, hey, maybe the person you're going to be with needs to be accepting that they're going to be considered a first lady. Not everybody wants to be a first lady. Not everybody wants to have that weight put on them.
right.
Like for me, I have to take into consideration whoever I get involved with moving forward. It's like, I am on social media. I do have a couple books. I have my own business.
Hmm.
There's a lot of lights on me, and
Right.
you can attest to this. And in your field, when you are out there and people seeing you, whoever you bring into your life, somebody's going to want that somebody. So if that person is not strong enough,
Right.
either you'll be accused of cheating, or
Right.
that person will be tempted, Everybody always wants somebody that somebody has, because they're like, oh, well,
Right.
if she has him, he must be worth something. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So there's greater temptation.
Yeah.
And so my
Yeah.
thought is, whatever man comes into my life moving forward, or whatever relationship I get into, I need to be able to trust that man 100, beyond 100%. And we need to be able to have
Honest conversations.
serious,
Yeah.
hard, exactly,
Yeah.
hardcore conversations. What was this intention? What kind of conversation were you having with this person? Because I need to be secured in knowing that you're going to affirm me and be like, baby, don't worry about it. I put her in her place. I checked her. But most men are like, oh, why you question me? Why you want to look at my phone? No, give me your phone, boo. You can have my phone, because I don't have nothing to hide. You see, and so those are things that has to be taken into consideration. And that is another reason why I am slow into getting into a relationship, because like you found out, the other person might not be able to handle the spotlight. A lot of people are private. I used to be really private with my life, but
Right.
then with the books and everything, it's like, okay, I also go out there. And it was like, oh, but now that I'm out there, it's like, okay, I need somebody
Right.
that can be equally secure and confident in themselves, and knowing they can overcome temptations. But if a man can't overcome temptation, and he ain't the one for me, because of the fact that it's gonna come.
Yeah.
I can see it now. Not to put myself on no pedestal or anything like that. No, 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 no. But simply put, if Shirley got that man, he probably is worth something. Let me go try him out. Or let me, if Donnell got that woman, ooh, maybe she's worth something. Let me go ahead and
Right.
try her out. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? Or, oh, well, he got a woman. Let me go holler at him and take
Hmm.
him away from her. You
Right.
see?
Yeah.
And so these are things that we as singles have to take in consideration. Can the person that we're bringing into our lives handle our lives? Are they going to be
Right.
a supporter? Or what's going to really happen, because of the fact that this world is so twisted.
Hmm.
It's not, it's almost like, I, 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 I don't even want to say it's almost like, it is a world where unfortunately we have a lot of crab in the buckets, and it's
Yeah.
not cool. And
Right.
relationships are put to the test.
Yeah.
And I always tell singles, don't go after somebody who already got somebody. It's not even worth it.
Right.
That's messy. That's real messy. What do
Right.
you say?
Um, I mean, you said a lot, and I concur with everything that you just said. Going back to what you said about someone that can handle what's your life is, and I think vice versa. That goes back for me.
Hmm.
It goes back to purpose, because everything is for purpose, including your relationship. If you have a vision for your life, if that person has a vision for their life, how do we complement each other?
Hmm.
Um, and let me say this. My last relationship, I thought she complimented me well, because there were things I wrote out about my life and goals that I had that I had not even shared with her yet. And she had almost matched the very things that I wrote down. I had never had that before. That was on a whole nother level. So she was a great helper. She was a great person that was helping me to get where I needed to be. But I think as the relationship went on, I think she felt as like, okay, I might be better as a friend than as his significant other. But she could not, it took her a while, because she's not a confrontational person, number one.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
she was like, she held back a lot. And I think she was trying to send me signals, but she wasn't. I'm one of those type of people
They
in a
weren't
relationship.
clear.
Right. I'm very straightforward. It's like AM,
Hmm.
it's black or white. With her, she was talking around it or talking to other people, hoping that they would talk to
Mm.
me about it. And I'm
Mm.
like, so I was like, man, it kind of really messed me up a little bit. And going back to what you said about the first lady thing, or because of what's on my life or on your life, in the text, and I still have it on my phone, and not that I'm holding on to anything,
I'm
but
sorry.
I never forget the text. It was like, I can't do this because I can't be a first lady. I can't be a minister's wife.
Mm.
That's what the text said.
And
That's what the initial text.
that is a heavy, heavy burden.
I was like, wow,
That's a
and
heavy burden. I'm just telling you, that's heavy. And
you know,
unless a woman is like power hungry or starstruck, like, um, mm,
You know, she'd been to church with me before. She's seen me in my element, whether either if I was playing or preaching. I mean, she would even,
which you're good
give
at,
me,
all of it. You're
yeah,
really
yeah,
good at
God
all of it.
bless. You know,
Hmm.
and she was very supportive, and I was like, wow, and it really crushed me because I was like, I could see she was very beautiful, but that wasn't just it.
Hmm.
It was so many different things that I felt like, man, I never had this before, and maybe this will be the one. But I was so crushed. But I didn't. I had to get out of my emotions. It took me a while, but I had to also start to see things from her perspective,
Hmm.
and how this is making her feel, and and it took me a minute. But that's why I think it's important to have the honest conversations early on so that it doesn't get to that place where we're breaking up, not because someone cheated or something that's dishonest. That's a whole nother thing.
The other
Um,
person's life is just too hard.
yeah, I was like, wow, and so I'm like, man, here I'm. It's like, and for me, I began to look at myself like, man, what is it about me? Now, this is going into some of the things I know we talked about how the world perceives singleness and relationships. um, I started replaying or rehearsing almost every relationship in my mind. Like, okay, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep failing in this? Why does it always seem like it's a year and a half or 2 years? I might get to the 3 year mark, and then it's like, it's like leasing a car, then it's over. you know, I'm like, what's
Great analogy.
what's going on? So I started, feeling like there was something wrong with me. But then as I started taking time to myself, and especially during the quarantine time, it gave me time to
Mhm.
reflect. It gave me time to renew myself. It gave me time to revive myself. I think it was the best time in my life. And when you take time just for yourself, some people jump from relationship to relationship to relationship to fill a void that no man, no woman can fix. You
That is the
have
truth.
to, I think you have to spend time with yourself. Love
Hmm.
yourself first. When you learn how to love yourself, then you can learn how to love others or be loved.
Hmm.
So many. I have a lot of my friends are female friends, and I have a couple who just jump in one toxic relationship after another because it's like they're looking for something from a man that they never get.
Hmm.
And it's like how do it's like you're trying to save them, but you can only do but so much. It's like, hey,
Hmm.
I have one friend now who's pregnant by someone she doesn't even want to be with, someone that she just hooked up
Mm.
with during the pandemic, and now you have a whole situation. And now you're in a situation that you have to live with that decision. You have to live with that consequence. And a person that's bipolar, a person that lied to you, a person that you're looking for this guy to be all of that, and now you see the true colors of that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
when you spend time with yourself and learn, I think the other thing is learn you.
Hmm.
Learn what your likes are. Learn what your love language is. I know there's a book that deals with that, the 5 love
Yep, the
languages.
five love language. Yep,
When
by
you when
Dr.
you
Chapman.
learn
Hmm.
when you learn yours first, then you learn how to be loved, uh, how to be approached, how to uh, what is the word I'm looking for?
How to
You
give,
learn how,
give,
yeah,
and you
as
learn.
well as the other person. Yeah,
You learn how to reciprocate that love. Some people don't know
yes,
how to reciprocate the love, and
yeah,
I know for me, being a some call it, I have a want to save people complex, guilty as
yeah,
charged, you know, um, but things that I have had to learn is I can't, one, heal everybody. I can't save everybody, but I
right,
also
right,
need to be able to just simply love Shirley enough to say,
hmm,
I can't. I just can't do this. It's
right,
not good
right,
for me. And that has been the hardest thing for me to do. When you step back and you realize, you know what? I'm looking at everything that everybody else is doing. And it's like,
right.
that's good. That's not good. I like this. I don't like that. Like you
Hmm.
said, you have to know yourself. And
You have to,
2020
yeah,
was a good year for me because despite everything going on in the world, that was one of the most barrier crossing for me. I went to
got you.
new levels with learning about Shirley, what Shirley likes and what, I'm talking to myself in third person. Basically, I learned what I like and what I don't like, and
Right.
so forth. And there are times you think you know what you like and what you don't like. And as you get older, you find out there are layers of yourself that you still
Right.
have to discover. And as you're growing emotionally, psychologically, religiously, spiritually, whatever, you're learning more about yourself, discovering something you're like, oh, I need to change that. Oh, I like that. It's a constant evolution process. And you have to be with someone who's constantly willing to evolve as well.
Yeah.
And
And you know what? And you know what? That's easier said than done, because
oh gosh, yes.
confrontation is
Yes.
not easy, especially
No,
when you're
it's not.
confronting yourself. It's always easy, especially when you're in a relationship, to accuse the other person or to
Hmm.
blame someone else. It's easy to do that. But when
Hmm.
it's just you and yourself, and you're faced with your own thoughts, you're faced with your own self, your good side, your bad side, the things that you need to really change in your own life. That's easier said than done.
Hmm. Hmm.
Confrontation is not easy, but it's necessary to have a healthy, authentic relationship. But you got to have
Hmm.
a good relationship with you before you can ever have a healthy relationship with someone else. Period.
And that is well said. And that is
Yeah.
so, so true. Most people don't like confrontation. And even though we don't like it, I know I don't like it. I know it's necessary.
It's
You,
necessary. Yes.
um, one thing I have learned is if you can't be your true self around someone, do you really have something? You know,
Mm,
you have to be able to be your true self
right.
without fear of judgment, without fear of ridicule, without fear of, oh, I might get the cold shoulder or I'm going to be blocked out or I'm going to be pushed away. If you cannot be your true self because they're constantly ridiculing you or using it against you, then really, do you have anything?
Right.
Or if the person can't be supportive, do you have
Mm,
something? A lot of time people get caught up in a one-sided relationship
yes.
and they're holding on to this image that this person is going to get better or change. And I found that these one-sided relationship, people don't talk about them because they're
Hmm.
constantly holding. And I'll admit, guilty as
Hmm.
charged, guilty as charged,
Yeah.
and it's taken me to learn about me to
Hmm.
realize I don't like these one-sided relationships and so forth.
Right.
Um, and now I'm just trusting God. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm being more open and more willing than I've ever been in my life and so forth. But it's also taken a lot of growth, and
Yes.
the growing pains.
Yeah.
But like you, I will tell you, people won't know the day that I do start dating anybody because of the fact I don't post that kind of stuff on social
Right.
media. I'm not going to make it any harder for myself or for that person because of
Right.
the fact the minute you put your picture or in relationship status on social media, it's going to come for you and it's going to come for your relationship, you know. And
I
so
look at it like
I
this: you won't know
yeah,
until you see the ring. You'll know when you know when I'm actually, when everything is a done deal, when the ring is on the finger and it's Mr. and Mrs. Like, oh, I didn't even know he was engaged.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's
Because of the simple fact, people going to come for you, they're going to come for her. It's
especially in these
like,
positions. Yeah.
yes,
Especially, yeah.
absolutely.
So
And people come ridiculing and whatever the case may be. They will
yeah.
definitely come. Um, but I appreciate you being open and honest and transparent. I mean, what advice would you give to singles that are struggling and are looking for something good? You've already given some great insight about, getting to know yourself, really learning, stop looking for that love in somebody else, love thyself first. What advice or would you say to them? Like, hey, despite what the world is saying, what would you say?
Support. I think part of it, um you have to have a good circle of friends. I think, you can't, one thing, from my background, we always look at spirituality and relationship with God, which is important, but also look at relationship with others and people of like minds. As I've been growing in business and in ministry and things like that, where I want to go, I surround myself with people that I want to be like. You know, the greatness that I see in other people, where I can glean, and it's evident in their lives. I think it's the same thing in singleness, that you have to surround yourself with good people, people who's not going to pressure you and make you feel bad that you don't have this, you don't have that. If you're a single woman, but all your girlfriends have booze, or they have, they're in relationships,
They.
now you're gonna feel pressured, even if they're not saying it, you're gonna feel pressure that you have to do that, to get a man and able to be a part of the crowd. You have to, again, you got to be comfortable with yourself, but actually have good, positive influences around you, because although while the quarantine was good to a degree as far as self-reflecting and all that, still you're left alone with certain things. You got to have good people that are supportive of you where you are in your life. That's important. People who are not pressuring you to do something that you don't want to, or have people who are supportive of you. That's my biggest thing. And people who surround yourself with people that you want to become, or you see the greatness in their life. You want to become like them or whatever. That's important to me. I know that's what's helped me, and that's what's helping me. And I see, as I think, at different stages of life, and this is beyond just singleness, the type of friends that I have, they change from time to time. My influences, the people that I'm connected to, we think that some people are in our lives forever, not necessarily so. And it doesn't mean that some of the people who go out of our life are bad people, but it means that they were good for that time. But then you have to embrace what's next, the right kind of people, the people who are going to propel you for what's next, so that when that man, when that woman comes, it will be right and it'll be authentic. You can go about it the right way initially. So that's my advice. Check your circle.
What would you say to the men or the women that are out there still sleeping around but saying they want a good relationship, or that, oh yeah, in due time I'll get a relationship? What would you say to them?
So some things. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That was another call that came through. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool. Okay, I was able to knock that out. Thank goodness. Okay, I hope they're not trying to call. Okay. So I would say this, that, and if I can just be transparent, I've been there.
Absolutely.
I've done it. I'm not going to sit here and act like, listen, there are consequences for that. And the consequences that come to you are never good. You might be having fun now, but it's going to come to an end, and it's going to be devastating. And the bad thing about this is you cannot choose your own consequences. You don't know how they're going to come. It's not always a disease. It's not always, it can be drama in your life that for the rest of your life. And let me tell you, from my point of view, from my spirituality, I know that God forgives, but there's still some things that I'm still paying for in my life because of certain decisions I've made in that area. My thing is, stop it now while you still have a moment, and try to recalibrate yourself. I mean, it comes to an end eventually. We're thinking about the moment. You got to start thinking long term. You got to start thinking 5 years down the road. You got to start thinking 10 years down the road. You got to think long term, not just by moment, or just this night or this one night stand. Let me tell you, it's not worth it. None of my children are a mistake, but my second child is not by my ex-wife. And that came because during my separation, I was fooling around with someone during a time that was, and I'm not going to go into all of it, but it's what I was doing at the time. And when I finally came to myself and I said, okay, we gotta cut this. She turned up pregnant. She turned up around the same time. My ex wants to get back together. She's like, okay, I want to work on our relationship. The other woman is pregnant. And I'm like, man, I can't escape this thing for nothing. I'm trying to tell you, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And so my thing is, if you're doing it, stop it. If you're thinking about it, hey, just get that thought out your mind, do something else. It's not worth it.
And I'll add on, and I want to say thank you for being transparent, because as a minister, it is hard. People don't want to address these things. But one thing I will say that I have, and for those people are like, well, why is she being sharing this thing and everything? And no, I haven't always been perfect, but I do agree with you. You don't know what the consequences are, and that can be spiritually, physically. It doesn't
Right.
always come it doesn't always come as a disease or a
Right.
child eater. There are long-term damages. And
Right.
one thing I think people also miss, they always looking at the negatives. I think people forget sometimes you can miss out on your blessing when you're
Right.
constantly caught up sexually with other people. You can possibly miss out on your blessing
Right.
because of the fact you're caught up in something that is most likely going to hinder a blessing that God had for you. So it's
Right.
better to just be by yourself, walk
Yeah.
that solo wall, and
Be
trust
patient.
God,
Yeah.
and ask God,
Yeah.
what direction
Yeah.
do you want me to go into? It is a hard road. Woo,
Yeah.
Jesus, I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah. Yeah.
it is hard, but
Yes.
glory be to God,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
um, and
Yeah.
people always wonder, hey, I stay busy for a reason. There's a reason for my madness, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But last comment as we get ready, what word of affirmation, I love affirmation, building up people, encouraging people. What would you say, one last moment, as a positive word to close out?
Um, you are enough.
Amen. I
That's
like
important.
it.
You are enough. Don't look for somebody else to complete you. You are enough, and recognize that. So, yeah.
And I received that too. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I
Yeah.
want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being transparent and being up here with me. And I'm praying that this will help build others up. It will bless others and open the door for others to understand how valued they are. No judgment, no ridicule. This is not intended to offend or to hurt anyone or target anyone or anything. This is simply to help make a positive change towards relationships as well as being single. Surviving singleness should be stress free and it should be a self love and a self growth season. It is not a curse. It is not a condemnation. So people need to stop telling singles something's wrong with you. There is nothing wrong. It's an opportunity to get better for what God has for us. And if you don't want to be with anybody, praise God. Some people are meant to be alone. I know I'm not, but praise God for those that are meant to be alone. God bless you. And
Amen.
so for that reason,
Yeah.
I wish blessings upon everyone. Thank you for joining me. And again, click like and share and get out there, find yourself, find love, be love in everything that you do. With that being said,